Hey, good morning, guys, and welcome to Pro Shop Talk. I'm Daniel. I'm the technical director here at the Masters Craft, and this is our series where we get to talk to some of our vendor partners about their products and some of the tips, tricks, and techniques to use them. Today we are talking with Brad West at Bona, and we're going to be talking about Bona Sealers, specifically their water-based sealers. You guys carry, I think, 5 different water-based sealers, and it can be a little bit confusing for guys when you give them a lot of options, but it also gets a little bit more confusing because I think in general, a lot of guys wonder, why do I even need to use a sealer on a floor? So, I mean, just to be clear with guys, let's go through each one. So we've got Bona ClassicSeal. That was the old Bona Seal. So that sealer is going to go down, and that's kind of like just a normal water-based sealer look. It's going to darken the wood just a little bit and then set up. It's not going to add a ton of depth to the color or anything, but like on a white oak, it's going to take that from the pale look to just a little bit more golden.
Yeah, a little bit of a blonde look. And the nice thing is, on all of our sealer bottles, we have the color spectrum. And then the bottle that you're picking up will have a line around the color that you're kind of choosing. That ClassicSeal is right in the middle of the gradient from, white to oil base. That's where ClassicSeal kind of falls right in that middle line.
Gotcha. And real quick, just a note on that. So one of the negative comments I've gotten about Bona sealers and people saying, oh, I don't like Bona sealers in general, I think comes from the fact that your ClassicSeal does gum up. Like, people don't like the boogers when they try and immediately get on that and buff that. So one of the interesting things I've learned from you is that if you're putting down ClassicSeal, that system is more designed to put down the ClassicSeal and then coat over that with poly and then buff, right?
Yeah, one of the easiest ways to avoid that issue of it gumming up your paper is to put down your ClassicSeal, come back in after it's dry, and then throw your finish directly on top of it. The nice thing about ClassicSeal and all of our sealers is that open time of 48 hours. So you don't have to feel the rush of, oh, I needed to move on to another job, and I'll come back tomorrow, and then worrying about, well, now I have to braid it because I missed that couple hour open time. So by putting that finish on top, you eliminate that gumming up of the acrylic that's in it that actually does the sealing job.
And then the next, in terms of darkening of the wood, would be IntenseSeal, which was the old DTS.
Correct. And the reason that gets the wood a little bit darker is because it does have a reaction, and it kind of changes the board appearance based on the amount of tannin that's in that board. It has this kind of cool feature that if you're looking for almost like a little bit of like marbling to the floor, to where each individual board is going to have its own characteristics come through, that's where that IntenseSeal, really kind of plays that effect on top of raw wood. The nice thing about IntenseSeal is because it still is a clear sealer, it doesn't have any pigment in it, it actually looks fantastic over any kind of a stained floor. It adds that depth of character that you don't typically get from a water-based finish system, to where you can kind of, you look down at it and you're like, wow, that stain's really popping. And the reason it's popping is because of the fact that that IntenseSeal is sitting on top of it, creating that depth.
Gotcha. And then just real quick, I know when guys hear tannin reaction or whatever, this is different from like a tannin pull. So there's not, you're not talking about the risk of having like dark tannin pull puddles or anything like that. Like,
it's not going to create that blotchiness. Both of those sealers are sandable sealers, which is definitely one of those things that contractors really like. The ability to go in, knock down that grain raise, and get a nice second coat on top of it. Can't do that without the fear of it gumming up your pad or gumming up your buffer.
So then we go from IntenseSeal, and then the darkest or deepest, richest of the colors would be AmberSeal.
Correct. Yep. So AmberSeal, and to really get that oil tone, I'll always have guys, call me up after putting down AmberSeal, and they're like, it didn't do anything really to the floor. Looks like I just basically put down, one coat of sealer, a clear coat of sealer, and that's because they only put down one coat. To really get that oil look, if you're trying to convert somebody from an oil-based system to a water-based system, but they want that richness, they want that tone, you really have to do a 2-coat system when it comes to AmberSeal. It's not going to age like oil. It's not going to have any of those same things, but it will simulate kind of a fresh oil look on the floor. and it can also add a little bit of richness to your stains. Let's say your stain goes down and you thought it was going to match really, really well, but you put it up against that existing oil floor and it's like, oh, it's off by just a little bit.
Mm.
Throwing that amber seal down on top of it can really kind of add the richness and the luster to that stain so that they do look more similar than, hey, this part's oil and this part's water, and it really stands out.
Awesome. So then going in the other direction, if we kind of peg Bona ClassicSeal in the middle,
Yep.
if we want to go lighter, the next up is NaturalSeal.
Yep. So natural seal is going to really kind of create that. I just sanded the floor. I haven't vacuumed. It's still got a little bit of that sanding dust on it. So
Gotcha.
if you're going for that true raw look, if you're going for that, that natural seal is going to look really, really good on your lighter species of wood.
Gotcha. And that's kind of the white in the NaturalSeal is counterbalancing the darkening effect of the sealer. So that's where you are ending up as close to that raw sanded look.
Correct. Yeah, you have this, yin and yang of the white pigment is kind of lightening what the darkening of the clear does.
Gotcha. Okay. And so it's got a little bit of whitener in it, and then obviously NordicSeal is the furthest on the white spectrum. That's got a bit more of the white pigment in there.
Yeah, about double the pigment of the natural seal. It's meant to really kind of create that Scandinavian look. It looks fantastic over top of like a red oak that gets water popped in white and looks pink. You can
Yeah.
kind of mask that out with that Nordic seal.
Do you guys recommend pad, T-bar, roller, brush, anything you're comfortable with? How are you guys
All of
going
the
to?
above. Yeah, definitely. Anything that you're comfortable with. It's really about being consistent, getting an even amount of the sealer on the floor. That's going to help you create that best stage for the upcoming finish coat.
So we've already talked about, I mean, coverage and your sealers is what, 400 to 600 square feet, somewhere in there.
Yeah, typically around the 500 is kind of where I tell guys to kind of streamline. Obviously, the back of every bottle kind of shows some of them are 450 to 550, some of them are 5 to 6. About 500 is going to be where I need to be.
And then, like you said, you can hot coat any of the sealers up to 48 hours. So if you put the sealer down, there's no abrasion needed within 48 hours, right?
Yeah, I mean that open time is a really nice factor because it does allow you to have a little bit of leeway before you have to come back in and actually, anytime we abrade, especially with anything that's colored, pigmented, whether it's stain or whether it's a pigmented sealer, you have the risk of like taking up color or
Yep.
exposing raw wood. So those abrading times, in the open time allows you to not have to go back in there on top of a Nordic seal, go in and buff it because you let it sit overnight and you're worried, hey, it's been 24 hours. I've let it sit. I need to go and abrade, and now you've exposed raw wood. And then when you pour your finish on top of it, you get these like yellow lines in this white floor, and you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, it came from the fact that you abraded your sealer and exposed that wood.
Yeah, and you were even telling me if you do decide to do that, a good way to test would be just like water or tack with a damp cloth, a water
Yep.
dampened cloth, because as soon as that water hits raw wood, like you're going to see a dark spot on the floor right away, and
Yeah.
that's going to alert you that hey, I got a spot here that doesn't have sealer on it. Well, Brad, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for
Absolutely.
answering one of the most common questions that I get, especially
Me too.
about sealers. Like this is something that I think is really good information for a lot of guys out there.
Absolutely.
And everybody, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And we will see all of you on the next one.